In 365 days, eyes of the world will be on stadiums like BMO Field in Toronto as Canada will be hosting its first FIFA World Cup match on Canadian soil. It's a monumental moment for the sport in this country.
This is something that we couldn't have even thought of 40 years ago.
Paul Dolan, known to many as Dolly the goalie, was between the posts during Canada's first World Cup appearance in 1986. Now, nearly 40 years later, he'll watch the next generation of players compete on home turf.
When we first made the World Cup in 1986, it seemed such a foreign thing. The previous one to that had been 1982 that I watched as a kid off in Spain. And prior to that, 78, if you can believe, that's going way back. In Argentina, it wasn't even on TV. We had to go down to the Pacific Coliseum in Vancouver to watch it on closed circuit television. And to actually be hosting it in our backyard in stadiums that we've played in at BC Place, at BMO Field in Toronto, where the national team has had their home, it's incredible.
I know everyone's really excited about it being 1 year away from the World Cup games being played in North America, but when it comes to Canada's soccer team, how do you think they will compete in this?
I feel that there might be more pressure on a home team than there was for us. At that time, we were expected to lose 3-4, 5-0. In fact, the Mexican fans outside the stadium in Leon, ahead of the game against France, who were the European champions at the time, were putting up their fingers like 5, 6, 7, 8 is what you're going to get blasted by. And so 1-0 in the end, even though you don't like to lose, was a respectable scoreline. I feel that the Canadian team now will have some pressure to get results.
Canada is set to co-host a tournament with the U.S. and Mexico, and Dolan says the lasting impact could be just as big off the field.
As the 2015 Women's World Cup inspired, I think, a lot of young ladies to play the game. Lots of girls are now registered in soccer, and I think inspired by what the Canadian team did and by hosting a World Cup in our country. And we're hoping the same thing happens with the boys. I think it will. Just the fact that Canada qualified for the last World Cup has really brought on a spur of interest around the game.
Toronto will host the first ever FIFA Men's World Cup match on Canadian soil on June 12, 2025. For City News, I'm Lindsay Dunn.